So there are 2.2 million people in prison in the U.S., and a team of criminologists, lawyers, and statistical researchers analyzed criminal codes, convictions, and sentences for the Brennan Center for Justice at NYU School of Law. And what they're attempting to do is find out how many people are unnecessarily locked up. So here's what they found. 39% of prisoners should not be in prison. Wow. 39% of prisoners should not be in prison. So they say releasing these inmates would save $20 billion a year. That's enough to employ 270,000 new police officers, 360,000 probation officers, or 327,000 school teachers. By the way, that's 576,000 people that can be released. I'm at a loss for words of how amazing this is. I mean, to think about the fact that 39% of almost half of prisoners could be released. But listen, that's what happens when you lock people up for nonviolent drug offenses. And that's what happens. They also go on to explain it's not just the nonviolent drug offenders who they'd let go, but also people who are serving time for other crimes where they've already been in there long enough. But we, unnecessarily and punitively keeping them there much longer is what we're doing. So when you look at the U.S. system and you try to compare it to other developed countries, and then you say, well, what if we had a system more like those systems, and even perhaps a little more radical in that we release all the nonviolent drug offenders? This is the result. So you save tax money, you can fix lives and help rehabilitate people, and you end the mass incarceration, but incarceration of people who should have never really been incarcerated in the first place. And they also discuss that in this report. So, I mean, isn't that wild? Almost half of prisoners in the U.S. could just be released. And think about the positive impact that would have on budget deficits, on the economy, on just the net happiness across the board. And this is why people say, man, and a lot of the data backs this up. This is why people say, hey, it's kind of like the new Jim Crow, what we have now. Because first there was slavery, then there was segregation, then there was mass incarceration, and if you look at the numbers, overwhelmingly the drug war has been used against people of color to lock them up. Now, of course, it's been used against poor white people too, and you can't forget about them, and you should talk about releasing all of these people. Duh. But what's fascinating is the dynamics of the system really point to the fact that this was a form of social control. How elites control poor communities and communities of color and get them to fall in line and, basically accommodate themselves to the system or else. So it's time to end mass incarceration, and it's time to end the drug war. And we can do a hell of a lot more releasing from prison and rehabilitation, and that's better all around.